The
broadcast is live, it says right
We're
here.
live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Jumping Instructors Live. My name is Randy Thompson, and we're so excited to share a special guest today, Amy Center. I'd like to introduce you to one of our hosts, and this is Laura Kelland-May.
May.
I forgot that for a minute.
How could you forget that little bit?
And Laura is a senior Canadian hunter, jumper, equitation, and hack judge and steward. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you so much, Randy. It's great to see everybody here today. And thank you, Amy, for coming and visiting us today.
Thank you. I'm honored that y'all asked.
Well, I'm going to introduce our leader here, Randy. Randy is the founder of the Jumping Instructors Facebook page, and she's been coaching professionals and certifying riding instructors in the horse industry for over 25 years, including business and marketing. She's a professional speaker at horse-related trade shows and is a horse industry legal consultant and expert witness. Thank you very much, Randy, for putting all this together. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. I couldn't do it without you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And also on our panel today, we have Patty Downing-Nygaard. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you. Thanks.
Patty has been a USEF Large R hunter and jumper and equitation licensed judge for over 25 years and judges at some of the most prestigious horse shows in the country, including Devon, Wellington, Harrisburg, Hits, Marshall, and Sterling Finals, and the West Coast Pony Finals. Thank you so much, Patty. And I'm just going to hand everything over to you so you can introduce our guest panel this morning.
You got it. And thanks for the invite. And I'm happy to be here. We're having a good time doing this. I hope everybody's liking this. We have invited Amy Center to join us. Amy and her partner in the Cavallo Farms business is Janet Colley, right?
Yes.
Amy? Mm-hmm. And Amy is a trainer there, and she is a recognized USHJA Riding Academy in Tallahassee, Florida. She has her large R hunter and equitation and small R in the jumper judge, which we're going to work on that and get her large R. And a USHJA certified trainer. Amy's a vice chair of the USHJA Emerging Athletes Program. She's been honored with the 2018 USHJA President's Distinguished Service Award in 2017 and 18. The what does that HQC mean again, Amy?
It's the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge.
The Horsemanship Quiz Challenge, Stable Challenge winner for Zone 4, and the winner for 2019 the American Horse Publication single article category. And today
2009.
Oh, 2009. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I'm just reading what I was sent, guys. You know, I don't have much of an imagination myself, so I have to read what I get sent. Okay, so we're going to talk about some things. We're going to talk about how to use this time to plan for your horse business. And Amy's also going to talk about the importance of connecting and networking with other professionals, and about the page she started in the Tallahassee Professional Horsemen's Group and why she created it, and the importance of continuing education, talk about the USHJA certification and why she feels it's important, and a favorite training exercise. So we're going to turn it over now to Amy, and she's going to start with how to use this time to plan for your horse business and our industry.
Well, thanks so much, ladies, for having me with y'all. It's been a pleasure to get ready for this and to get to know each and every one of you. Of course, I've known Patty for many, many years, and I'm honored to be here on the show. Everybody's kind of shut down right now, and some people are still able to ride. Some owners are still able to ride, but it's different throughout the country. And this might be a good time for people to take a moment and assess their business and their goals and where they fit into the market. I think that's something good for everybody to do all the time. You know, where do you want your place to be? Some things we think about is everybody always wants to be at the very top and at the elite level, but just because you're not at that level does not make you less of a horseman. And I think that that's very important, that very strong horsemen are needed, training the young horses, teaching the kids up-down lessons, and then all the way up to the highest levels of our sport. And every single professional is just as valuable as the next. So a good time right now to assess where you are, what your goals are, where you want to be, because none of us can do it all. That's for sure.
And what are some of the things that people can do at this time to be able to do that? Do you have any ideas? Like, what would you say to somebody they're pretty much stall bound, they're stuck in their stalls, basically. They can't do much. So what can they use this time to do that'll make a difference, and what they'll be able to do when this ends?
Well, I think regardless of where your goals are as a professional and what you want your farm to do and what your students' goals are, if we don't have as many people as possible into horses, in the horse world, then we all kind of suffer. And so a big drive of mine is to promote the horse world to the whole world. Like, I think all of our national associations, our local associations, FEI, they all do great jobs of marketing our world within. We're reaching out to those that already are involved, already compete, already in the door. But we don't really reach out to the people that aren't in horses. And my husband is a non-horse person, and we go to different functions, and I tell people what I do. Usually the first thing is I would never get my child into horses. And, the preconception is that you have to be a multimillionaire to do this sport. And I would contest that any sport at the highest levels takes a great amount of sacrifice, whether that's time, sweat, blood, and a lot of money. I can't imagine that some of the highest members of tennis or golf or a lot of sports didn't spend a lot of money to get
track and field or any of the sports, like you say. Yeah,
correct. But it doesn't mean that you can't learn how to play tennis and enjoy the sport, and you can't learn how to play golf and enjoy the sport at any level. And the same thing is true with horses. I mean, horses are an integral part of our history as humans. We would not be where we are today without the horse.
That's right.
And it's sad to me that not as many people, and I think it's also regional. The Northeast sees more people growing up, kids expecting to take a riding lesson. In the Southeast, more kids are probably growing up expecting to do ballet or football or swimming. So I'd like to change that, because a rising tide lifts all boats. And all of us trainers are trying to work so hard, and we're so mired down in the day-to-day, just paying our staff and let alone paying us. Usually we don't get paid at all at the end of the day, and getting our things to work, and the passion we have to teach horses and teach proper horsemanship to people is so prevalent amongst us all that we don't have time to work with the other professionals in our industry. And then we get worried about working with the other professionals in our industry, that it might show a weakness, or they might, and I love this, steal a customer. And to me, you can't steal a customer. I mean, not every customer is going to stay with you forever. In fact, no customer is going to stay with you forever. They're all going to leave at some point, whether they get out of riding, they move, they get married, problem, they die. I mean,
right.
I mean,
yeah,
there's
exactly
a million reasons, but us working together, that's a permanent. And if we can work together, then more people might get the message that riding is something that anybody can attain, because there's different disciplines, there's different levels. There are farms that do it for much cheaper. There are farms that are much more expensive. There's volunteer opportunities. We have a great therapeutic riding program in our area. There's even being a fan, even supporting your local equestrian activities. So that would be a passion of mine. And that's something I think in this downtime would be a great use of everybody's energy, to try to see and brainstorm and figure out ways to reach out to the non-horse world and get them involved, get the message out there. How do we get it into the main media?
Well, that brings up a great point, Amy, because we've been exploring it. We're pretty much stuck in our homes right now, but we've gone into, like you say, how do you reach out to reach these people? How do you connect with other professionals? How do you connect with potential customers? it's online now. We're so lucky to live in this time where we can actually use tools. Like right now, we are streaming from a program. It's called StreamYard. You can sign up for it free. There's also Be Live. You've got what was the other one we used last night? Oh, Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So there are programs now where you can connect with your clients. You can do lessons in your house where you're showing them how to get their position as they're standing on their feet. What else can they do with this? Because you've been working with it now too, Laura. So how have you found that the online working with this, the social media has made a difference for how you're promoting to the people you're trying to reach?
Well, I think right now, in particular, people are at home and they do want to do things related to horses that, maybe not with their own horse because they can't get to the stables, some of them, but, or if they are the people that are doing their recreational riding or riding once a week or riding twice a week in their lesson programs, they still want to consume something to do with horses. And people are reaching out, and this is just one excellent way that we can help.
Because they like to connect with other horse people.
They want to connect with other horse people.
We did that Zoom last night, and that was fabulous. We had so much fun together.
We did have fun.
And as what Amy was saying, it's not just the upper level people and the trainers and the people. It's your neighbor who wants to go out one day a week and do the recreational riding, or in the program where they want to be outside with the horse. It's that connection
that's right.
I grew up taking a lesson once a week until I was 14, and we moved to North Carolina and I bought a horse, and then it kind of went from there. But I didn't do the big horse shows. I did some North Carolina horse shows as a junior, and then I went to work. And so you can do it. You can do it in all sorts of ways. Amy's barn, who I've been there. I've known Amy for forever. Does everything from the lesson school to all the way to people qualifying for indoors and to do those things. So there's not a lot of people that do that anymore. It's a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a big expense. However, it's also a great way to do it. It's how my barn was. And I love that she still does that. I think it's great. And again, trying to get up with your local professionals, even if you can do something like this with your local professionals, it depends on where you live. You can put 6 or 20 on some of these things and say, hey guys, what are we going to do when they open up those doors and say, we can do this? We're not all going to load up and go to Palm Beach.
Right.
We need to go somewhere and jump around. Maybe we could go to each other's barns and jump around. Right. Amy does a little circuit there at her farm, but maybe we can all load up and go here or do lessons at each other's barns a few times to get out. I mean, just coming up with some ideas be able to get people going. That's fun. That helps the horses, helps the riders, and helps your pocketbook all at the same time. It's kind of a plus.
Well, let me ask you, Patty, a question. How has being a part of this, because this format of using platforms like this on social media is new to you, how has it changed the way that you're connecting with other horse people?
It's interesting. I get a lot of little feedbacks like, that was fun watching you, and I'm glad you're doing this, and those kind of things. It's been fun to learn about it. It's been great. Amy, I hear you guys had a little lesson yesterday on, thank goodness you have a teenage daughter. But I love doing it. I think it's great, and I've met some people that I haven't met before, and hopefully we'll meet more. And we love it that people want to come and do this. And then Amy, you're involved also. You're licensed on I just lost my stupid cheat sheet. There it is. The USHA continuing education and their certifications. If you could kind of briefly go over that. Not everybody we know is involved with that, but it's a good program.
Right. Well, I'm in no way involved with governance of USHA, but I do find that there is a lot of benefit in what USHA is doing and the programs they're doing. And I'm really passionate about the educational aspect of it. I was fortunate enough to lead the educational endeavors at the first USHA National Championship in Las Vegas 2 years ago. And that was, we put together educational programs for everybody there. The spectators, the exhibitors were able to be involved. So, for example, I know y'all had Diane Carney on Monday. Diane, we worked together and she did a judge's perspective clinic that I organized or ran for her there. And that was so much fun. So to me, I think so many people love horses and that are involved in our sport. Obviously, they all love horses. They want to ride. They want to be better at riding. And we need to make all those avenues available for horsemanship, for all of the aspects that sometimes get lost during that education. And or during that process of learning how to ride. So that was a lot of fun doing that. I am a certified trainer, and I understand that that's changing soon to credentialing. And that program, I believe, will go live in December. So I think there'll be some more information on that. I'm not on that committee, but I have a little bit of information about what's coming down the pipe for that. We are a recognized riding academy, which is just basically trying to bring in the farms like mine that do the up-down lessons all the way through, or just those riding academies, and bring them together again to really stabilize that classical education and ensure that everybody is teaching in the right direction. You can have your own philosophies and your own techniques and your own flares, but we want to have that base knowledge to be accurate and traditional and going forward, and we don't want to lose it.
And that goes to what you were saying about continuous education. So what can professionals do, especially during this time where they can improve what they're doing so they can change what they're doing with their clients?
So again, I'm pulling to USHA because that's where I'm more familiar, but there's a couple of things. One, with that HQC, which is open now this year.
That might tell people what that is.
That's the Horsemanship Quiz Challenge. It's now open through September. Again, I'm not on that committee, but I can answer some questions about it. That is something for the professionals to guide their clients to. And this year they've opened it up to adult amateurs as well. So the HQC has always been for juniors. It's online testing. There is an HQC study guide on the USHJ website that is phenomenal. They put it together and it's free. Everybody can go there and download it and look through it. A wealth of information.
Do you have to be a member to do it? Do you have to be a member to download the information?
You have to be a member to get that book, but the outreach membership for USHJ is free. So
that's true. Yeah.
Anybody can be a member. And so you go and you can look at that HQC study guide, and then the kids can take the test online. So you're helping your kids increase their horsemanship knowledge. And now it's open to adult amateurs. And we have at Cavallo Farms an amazing group of adult riders. We call them, well, I don't know if I should say.
Probably not.
We have happy hour lessons and they have a lot of fun, and they're a blast. They're a joy and a treat to have. So they're very excited this year to be able to do HQC. And then there's nationals for them. So they take the top so many kids and they go join us at EAP Nationals, which this year will be at Lake Erie College. And the adult amateurs, their nationals are going to be combined with the Capital Challenge Horse Show.
So that's cool.
Yeah,
to me it sounds kind of like what Pony Club used to be like. Is
a little bit
to that?
Well, it is, but it's all online, and so the testing's online. It's all free, and that HQC,
what a great thing for right now in this environment.
Thing. Yeah, and to continue, and this is something that professionals can give as a gift to their riders, is express this. And share this information.
Can you tell us more about the wine and cheese parties that you're having with your adult amateurs? Well, that's important because everybody's looking for a way, especially with their adults, how they can make it so it's not just a lesson, because it's all about socialization for most adults taking lessons, right?
There's a big part of it. I get off on tangents, and I'm sorry, but I have a design degree. So I have a farm design business, and I do consulting with farm design, equestrian center design. And the first thing I tell people when they're building a barn in their backyard, because they think, of course, they're going to save all this money, which isn't true. But a lot of it, especially with the kids and even with the adults, is that socialization. And some of them go home and either get into trouble because their horses start acting up without a professional around all the time, or they just miss out on that part of it. And even the competition between the kids at the barn is important. You know, if Susie can do that, then I can try it too. So all of those aspects are good. So we've got 2 programs that are a little unique to the industry, I think. One is a Little Bits program, and that's for 3 to 5-year-olds, which are an unusual age to start in riding lessons. But we do them as a group of up to 4. And we have one little tiny pony, and they all get a little chance to brush the pony and lead the pony very, you know, we're obviously not doing these right now. And then they all take a little turn riding the pony, and they're not going to learn how to post and do all that, but they learn safety. They get comfortable. They experience joy and love with the pony. And when they're ready for lessons, they move on to lessons. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the adults, and we do happy hour lessons with them. Brunch.
What do you mean by they get lunch? So you have brunch?
They all bring a dish to share and a drink for after the group lesson. And a lot of times I'll do quadrilles with them. So they'll be, you know, threading the needle, and we tried a pinwheel one time. That wasn't very pretty, but so different fun things like that, which is a little outside their realm or their wheelhouse. And they're really excited about it. And it's a lot of fun. And we have all levels of adults, from riders that are competing in the adult amateurs and up in the jumpers, and then people that are just coming for weekly lessons. So that's a fun group that we do.
We used to do that at Even Keel. Yeah. When I had the farm in Clearwater, we used to do that, and it was so much fun. And we opened it up. If you took 2 lessons a week, or you boarded and took lessons, it was a free evening. And everybody would come in and everyone would bring appetizers and bottles of wine. And afterwards we'd all sit in the office and talk about how great we were.
Yeah, we do it for a reduced rate too, because it's definitely more, you know, it's
more fun.
Also a great way to develop your grassroots base to get people coming into the sport as well.
Exactly.
I mean,
because we have adults that'll come
up to the top, right?
We have adults that come just to watch, and they may end up riding, you know, down the road. They have a friend.
What a great idea.
So, and none of us are creating any new ideas. All of it's been there. And so it's just great to keep sharing it. But the HQC is a great way for the adults to have some fun too, because a lot of these adults are hungry for the knowledge. They want to know how to take care of their horses better. They want to be better informed. And trust, I mean, none of us know everything. So the more we can expose ourselves and reread the information, every time I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that, or I didn't realize that was the case. But of course, the thing that's dearest to my heart is the Emerging Athletes Program. And if I can take a moment to talk about that, I would love to.
Go for it.
So the Emerging Athletes Program is a great program that I am lucky enough to be on the committee for. And it's the happiest committee in USHJ. If you ever want to get involved in committee work, I highly recommend EAP, because we don't have drama and everybody's always so happy. But what it is we're, again, with the education of our riders, and especially being able to reach people who may not have necessarily the competitive way to get to the top. And we're starting that, you know, the very bottom start of that pathway for the Olympic athlete or the international athlete. Our tagline is opening eyes and opening doors. And that's exactly what we do with Emerging Athletes Program. We have 10 regional training sessions every summer. It's changed a little bit. So I'm going to give you the overview and then tell you some cool things that the professionals can take advantage of. So the 10 regional training sessions, we take 24 riders. We have amazing clinicians. Our clinicians in the past, or even currently today, we've had Chris Kapler, Ann Krasinski, Karen Healy, Jeff Teal, Julie Winkle, Jim Wofford, Candace King, Cynthia Hankins, Joe Farges. I mean, just
the top ones.
The top. It's amazing. And you have 4 days of riding with them. And then we have amazing stable manager clinicians, Ann Thornberry, Colleen Reed, Nancy Snyder, Tracy Foreman. We've got a couple of new ones this year. They're amazing stable management. And so the kids come and I should say kids because adults can do this too. Mm-hmm. They come and set up on the first day. They meet with the stable manager. They go over setup. And then for the next 4 days, they break into 3 groups. And while one group is in the ring riding, with the riding clinician. One group is in the barn doing stable management, and one group is doing jump crew, so they get to watch the riding and things like that. And we end the clinic with a type of Nations Cup format fun course on the final day. So we do flat work, gymnastics, and then a course. And we have special educational speakers that come in throughout the week. It's an amazing value, an amazing clinic for 5 days. You would not believe what you get out of it. And the professionals that are coming and auditing as well are getting, you walk away with so much. Every time I run a clinic, I'm like, holy moly, I'm learning more, or it's reinforcing what I already know, or it's giving me new ways to say something. So it's just a phenomenal thing. And
let's focus on that again for a minute, because this is important. For those of you who are professionals, the most important thing you can do for your business is to do continuous education. And with the Emerging Athletes Program, you can go and actually audit. Can they participate in the clinic itself?
Yep. So this year we have, we've lowered the height a little bit. So it's now a 0.9 meter and a meter rider, and you choose which level you want to be. Because sometimes we have, you know, even the big kids who are on a little bit greener horse, you know, and you bring your own horse to the regional training sessions. But professionals can do it. Amateurs can do it. Juniors can do it.
I mean, what an opportunity for people if they're in a location where it is. Where is it located that you're doing it? You said that you have regional.
The regional training sessions are all around the country. So we're up in the Northeast, we're in the Southeast, we're in Tennessee, we're in California, we're in Texas. So go on the USHA site and look under education and emerging athletes program. It'll give you all the information.
That's so great that you opened it up for people. I mean, our youth is very important, but we all know, because we're out there in the world dealing with other professionals, they need to have a place where they can go that'll take them to their next level of success. And this is what an opportunity, Amy.
Well, we also have started a couple of new programs within EAP, and one of them is the VIP auditing. We tried it last summer as a pilot program, and we're instituting it this summer with all of our regional training sessions. And the auditors could always come and watch the riding section of it, but nobody was allowed back in the barn with the stable managers because, you know, just the logistics of getting everybody together. Right. So taking up to 15 people, can be anybody. It's obviously much cheaper to do the VIP auditing than to participate. And some people may not have a horse or may not ride, and they're a professional that's not riding right now, or whatever the case may be, or an amateur that's not riding right now. And they get to come, and we break them up into 3 groups, and they get special access to the clinicians. We have a special reception with just the clinicians and the VIP auditor, so they can ask a lot of one-on-one questions. They get access to the stable management aspect. It's an amazing amount of education. And the people I had last year in Venice at Foxley Farm, where we did the pilot program, and our hosts at Foxley were amazing. And the people that did the VIP program, I feel they told me they got so much out of it and so enjoyed. And we had different educational sessions, like, you know, talking to judges and other show managers, things that you can do in this industry without being a trainer. Just because you want to be in the horse industry doesn't mean you have to stand in the ring and teach. There's so many different jobs in the industry to take advantage of. So we talked about that. So the VIP auditing, take advantage of that. Only 15 spots at the 10 regionals. And it's an amazing way to get involved. And then the newest part of the program that we're going to be launching, hopefully, well, it's already up on the website, and I'm finishing up a lot of the background work, is called Mini EAP. And again, we're trying to spread the education and that classical education to as many people as possible. We want everybody going forward on the right foot and really understanding where this came from, what the education is. So the mini EAP is like the EAP clinic in a box. And so, Patty, you have a barn and you have a group of riders and you want to run a mini EAP. And so you purchase this mini EAP level, and there's 5 levels, and there's a discount.
And again, the EMP is Emerging Athlete Program.
And so you purchase the mini EAP level 1 from USHJ. If you're a TCP, certified trainer, or a recognized riding academy, you get a discount. If you buy multiple levels at one time, you get a discount. And then what you get is a teacher's manual for stable management and riding. You get certificates for your kids or your participants. It can be adults, it could be any level. and you get marketing help from USHJ. You're listed on their website. You get some tchotchkes, you get some banners. So it is a full little program sent to you. And then you have to have a TCP, a certified trainer, run your riding aspect, but not the stable management doesn't have to be, even though it's recommended. They need to be USHJ members, active members, so that we know they've had a background check, they've gone through Safe Sport. So again, you've got some help, you know, making sure this is run well. You can do it one day, you can do it multiple days, you can do it for any number of kids. You charge what you want to charge. You make it your program, but you're utilizing the education in the format of EAP. So the kids or the students go through riding.
That's an amazing thing. I wish we'd had that.
There's a curriculum you can
Yes,
follow then. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you have access to the HQC study guide for backup on, and I also, in the different levels, there'll be videos. The USEF Learning Center has great videos that we've put in there. USHJ has some great videos on lunging. So you can use videos, you can use any of this material that we're putting together, and then you can take it on your own level. If you're teaching a group of short stirrupers, you're going to, you know, teach them a lot of the vocabulary. You might teach them the vocabulary word of a shoulder in, but we're not necessarily going to expect them to do a shoulder in. So you craft it to your students and to what you're doing at that clinic, but they get stable management and they get riding. And so the whole package is together. And the one thing that the EAP does is these kids, when they show up for that clinic, they're 100% responsible for their horse. Mom doesn't come help. Trainers don't come help. They have to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're there typically doing night check at 8 p.m. It's a long, grueling week. When these kids come out of it, they're like, holy moly, if this is what a trainer is like, I'm either ready or, wow, maybe I need to rethink.
Right.
So
I have to go get a plug. I have a question to ask you though. Are there any scholarships for the Emerging Athletes program available to juniors who maybe can't afford to do that? And I'm going to go get a plug.
Each zone has money to do for grants and scholarships of that kind of. So yes, you can apply for zone grants with your zone. So just again, check with your zone committee and see what grants might be available. But there is, I know Zone 4 has some help for EAP. So there are definitely some ways to access money, and do check out it for those that are looking for scholarships. USHJ has a couple of amazing scholarships, and I'm keeping my eyeball on them because I have a 15-year-old, and there's one that it grants $25,000 to a senior. I mean, it's just amazing.
Nice.
What if you do a little bit of look on their website, what USHJ is providing for all of its members, and so. I'm an advocate for all the programs. I think they're great, and I love the education, and of course, I love EAP. But in EAP, we also have a national finals, and so Peter Wild is our clinician there, and 16 riders are chosen from the regional training sessions throughout the summer to go on to the nationals. And of the national finals, the winner gets a $3,000 grant to use to study with an approved riding instructor. For example, our winner from this past year is Juliana Impey, and she is, I think she just put in, she's going to use her grant to go ride with Meredith Michaels Beerbaum in Europe.
What fun.
Right. And so, and some of our past winners have been Jacob Pope, won in 2011. Some other names you might, Kathleen Driscoll was our winner last year, and she was self-taught. She had an instructor when she was just starting out, and then she went to videos and watched videos and had her parents video her. She was able to get this very nice green horse and started working with it, and basically was self-taught and did all the work herself. And when she came, I was at the Virginia clinic where she started with us, and her body control was amazing. So
videos are important, as you were saying. And for those who are watching, it's another way you can get continuing education is go to YouTube or Vimeo. Is that the other one? Where you can watch the top trainers in the world have actually taken videos from their clinics, their programs, their teaching, whatever they're doing. And you can find them on YouTube. You can do a search for your favorite trainer, and you can see the training videos that they have to share. Yeah. So that was a great thing to bring up there, because it's another way, especially during this time, where people can improve the quality of what they know to make a difference for their clients.
Yeah, there's so much information out there.
And it's so much more than when I was really involved, which was when it was still the AHSA, and the educational program is amazing. And I think it's neat, and you have to dig a little sometimes, but it's there and you can do that. So Amy, you're all involved with all these great things. And what are you doing at your barn? Are you guys still able to teach, or are you?
We have stopped doing beginner lessons because obviously we have to be so on top of them and help them with every aspect. So we have 50 acres, and our barn is a 3 shed row barns around a courtyard. So it's very open. You're not kind of trapped in a center aisle barn. So we've allowed, and we've got 2 riding rings and a big field to ride in. So we've allowed our customers, our boarders, and those that are leasing the lesson horses or at a level where they can tack up on their own and come to the ring. They still come and teach lessons. And most of our lessons we're doing a lot of flat work and a lot of drills, and we're not setting, meter 10 courses and trying to get anybody hurt.
Right, because you don't want that either. You don't want to have to take someone to the hospital at this point in time.
Yeah, and of course you could go, you could fall down your stairs at home. So
right.
we're just happy. To me, it's good for these people to get to their horse and to be outside in the fresh air. And they're definitely socially isolated because there's so much room to ride, and they're not all there at the same time. So it's worked out well so far, and we're hoping to continue.
So there is a question here from Diane.
Hi,
Diane.
How important is education from the associations like USHJA?
I think it's great to have all these educational programs from our national associations because it does put all of the information in one place and has an engine to promote it. Unfortunately or unfortunately, and I think you could probably look at it both ways, we as professionals are unlicensed. We don't have to go have a certain degree or go have a certain license in order to open up and just say, hey, I can teach your kid how to ride a horse. So having that engine of a national association kind of pushing that education and the correct education, I think is really important.
I think it's a great thing. And I think that having people like Diane and you and the people that are involved in it, kudos to you guys, because I know how hard it was when I used to do all that. And I decided I was going to get married and back away. So I backed away. And you're a mom and a wife, and you run a big business, and you're still really involved in it. And I think it's great. And Diane does 1 million clinics and does a whole lot of stuff, and she loves it also. So I think kudos go to all of you that are so involved in it, because I know what it's like having been there and done that.
Yeah, well, I recommend getting involved and looking at the mini AP. The HQC is a great thing to do right now for horsemanship, and it's completely self-isolating to get involved in that program. So there's just so many ways to further your education and further the education of your customers and give them opportunities. Sometimes we get worried about giving them so many opportunities that they might see another door to go through, but that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. If you have an Olympic caliber rider in your barn and they need to go through that door, if you gave them that right push, that's amazing.
It is. That brings up something else we'd been discussing earlier, Amy, and that was the importance of networking with other professionals that are in your area or that are around you. Can you talk more about how you've been doing that and how other professionals, because as we know, those that, a lot of the professionals in the local areas tend to get into a little box where they're afraid, they get inside of the box and that's where they stay and they guard their box, right?
Yeah.
But as you go up the levels, a lot of times I found that the professionals work together. So how would you encourage those who are a little bit shy or a little bit intimidated to start reaching out and connecting? Because we know these pros for the rest of our life. Exactly. If you live in your local area, you're going to know them the rest of your life. Your clients will come and go, but the pros are more likely than not they're going to be there, right?
Yeah. I have established some great relationships through, when I finally started to get involved in USHJ and sit on some committees and really get to know people other than just passing them at a horse show or standing next to them at the end gate or going, oh yeah, we did that horse deal 3 years ago. And then it starts to develop better relationships. And those relationships have been invaluable to me.
Yes.
And they help in so many ways. And I'd like to see more of that on the local level as well, too. And it is hard because we are fighting for, every little bit we can. But if we were to raise the awareness of the sport and get more people involved in the sport, and there's so many ways to do it now, that it would be beneficial to work together. It only helps each other. So one thing that I've done is I started a little Facebook page. It's not an association. It's not anything to do with me or with Cavallo Farms. It's just the idea of trying to get anyone who works in the horse industry in any capacity. So that's you own a tack shop or you're a farrier or a veterinarian or feed store or trainer or whatever, any discipline. And I've called it the Tallahassee Professional Horsemen's Group. And I just started it recently. And the idea was to try to get together monthly to foster relationships between anybody working in the horse industry and to bring in a speaker each month that was outside of our wheelhouse. I didn't want to bring in a horse nutritionist or another trainer or, something, that we all already have kind of our ideas of how we want to do things at this point. Even though education is important, to get people to kind of come to the same place, you almost have to put them somewhere they're not comfortable or comfortable with that information. And so the first one, we brought in a marketing director, or she's actually a friend of mine who's the president of a big marketing firm here locally, and came in and talked about marketing, social media, marketing, different ways to do it. Farms and professionals don't have a marketing account and lots of money to spend on marketing. Most of us, there might be the top echelon 10% have that kind of funding, but the rest of us are just doing free Facebook and
thank goodness for Facebook. It's changed our lives, hasn't it?
Exactly. So just talking about ideas like that and how to get the word out and things to do. So that was a great meeting. And then we also had the local chamber come in and talk to us because I think, again, the horse professionals are so busy we wear 25 different hats. We're barely scraping by. We're busting our butt. It's a long day. And then we're like, oh yeah, now you want us to join the chamber. And we don't think about that. But the chamber also doesn't look at the horse industry as a viable professional industry. Right. And it really is. I mean, in Florida alone, it's an $8 billion industry. And that includes racing and Western and English, but it's huge.
All the disciplines. Yeah.
Yes. And
it is huge.
What it can bring in. I mean, think about the money that comes into Wellington outside of the grounds of Winter Equestrian Festival. The housing and the gas and the restaurants. Think about Ocala and the money that comes in when these circuits. I mean, it's amazing what horses can provide to our area. We have a Red Hills Horse Trials, which is a volunteer-run CIC 3-star 3-day event here in Tallahassee. It's beautiful if you ever get the chance to come. It's always in March.
Gorgeous.
And the grounds where it's run is unbelievable. And that they do economic impact studies on that and the amount of money for people for a 3-day event who has a finite number of entries. The amount of money that brings to Tallahassee and the impact it has on beds and gas and restaurants is really valuable. And so I think if the horse group started working together to kind of show that value, that would be great. We had a county commissioner come in and speak to the group. And that was wonderful because we have some people involved in our group that are with the Southern Trail Riders Association. So there's so many aspects of horses that we don't even realize because we get, again, mired down into what we're doing every day. So the Southern Trail Riders Association have been working very hard on all of these horse trails that we have. And I didn't even realize this because I don't do a lot of trail riding in our area around Leon County and all throughout the state of Florida. And some of the dirt biker, not dirt bike, but regular bikes that go out at trail bikes, they're taking over some of these trails and they're trying to figure out ways to work together with the horses and keep that alive. And that's also something that brings in income to your cities when people want to ship in and do some trail riding and stay somewhere. And so there's all sorts of ways to get involved with the horses and with your industry locally. And if we keep building our local industry, then it spills out into our state industry, it spills out into our national industry. And before you know it, I'll go out to a dinner party with my husband and people will go, oh yeah, I'm going to get my child into horses. Instead of what I get is, I'll never get my child into horses.
Well, that once a week lesson can be a lot. My granddaughter likes horses and she takes a lesson once a week. And that's what she does. And she comes and spends the summer with us and we do a little more, but she loves it. She loves doing it. So it's a good thing. Well, and I think, Amy, what you're doing is great in being able to do that. And the people that are listening now or listening later, the trainers, not, as Amy said, not all trainers are at the top of the pyramid, and the bottom of that pyramid is wider. And the people need to, or should, they don't need to, realize the opportunity that the USHJA provides in the educational part, and what you're working with the emerging athletes. I think that's pretty amazing. And I know that there's some little programs, and I wish I could remember what they are, but I had a boy that rode with me that was so excited because he came out and he had a hat and he had something else that his mom had found at the USEF, I think it was. But there's so many things there, and I think it's a great thing. And so the trainers that are listening and the professionals that are listening, don't be afraid to open that door, even if you maybe don't go to recognized horse shows right now.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, because there's a zillion of those, and that's, I mean, all of it, most of us started like that. And just to kind of remember that, as we've all said, your riders, if you have a rider with a lot of talent and the wherewithal to do it, and you're not going there, they're probably going to go somewhere that's going to go there. So prep them the best you can and get a great relationship with the professionals in your area. So if you have little Betty or Bobby, and you think that maybe they are starting to talk about wanting to go to the bigger horse shows, then it's nice if you can send them to the right place and have a working relationship with that professional that you're sending them to. If that makes any sense.
And it's really important that there are trainers who bring in the base so that they can get up to the higher up trainers with the, you know, if they do want to go to the bigger horse shows. That's really important to get the base.
Yes. Every level of professional is valuable and just as important as the next level. And it doesn't make you less of a trainer or less knowledgeable. In fact, a lot of these base of the pyramid trainers are probably more knowledgeable
of the industry.
Yeah, in a lot of aspects, because they're such a wide range of what they're doing as opposed to just focusing on the competitions at a certain level. They're all valuable and everybody's very important. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, finding where you want to be. You know, my business partner and I decided years ago, and we grew up showing on circuits, that we didn't want to live on the road 48 weeks out of the year.
Right.
And we're happy to take you to whatever level you want to go to, if you want to do it on the program that we do, and we can get you there, and we have. But if you want to be on the road 48 weeks out of the year, we're going to put you with somebody who does that and somebody that we trust. Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
So,
and I like what Patty says when you say, you know, don't be afraid to you bring them along and say, hey,
absolutely,
exactly what you're saying, Amy, is so long as you fit within our program. And then if you don't, well, we're going to find you somewhere where you
be the person, be the hero, be the person that sends them off to someone that you can hope takes good care of them, and versus them picking up the phone or seeing someone at a horse show that maybe they'll end up being the lowest man on their totem pole. And so they won't get what they're looking for. So it's a matter of trying to do that. And it's hard to do. It's hard to kind of let go. I was blessed. I had a business that had everything, and I was capable of being able to take some of those kids where they wanted to go. But I had a gal named Lee Kircher, and she wanted to do the big jumpers, and I didn't have anybody else to do the big jumpers. So we sent them to the Maddens. I mean, you know, sometimes you just have to do that. It's time. It becomes a time thing. So, but anyway, we talked one time about, Laura, we all talked about this before, Amy, about some of these barns that are really shut down. about walking through them with your phone or and taking pictures of clients' horses or videos of clients' horses and sending them to them so that they can be in touch with their horse. And in New York, I don't think New York State, it's like locked down. They don't treat it as an agricultural thing. And as Mary said, Babbitt said the other night, New Jersey considers the horse business agricultural, so you can go out there.
Right.
You know, you can walk 3 feet and be in New York and not be able to go near your horse. So
that's right.
It just depends on where you are. And if you're somewhere where they can't come out and they can't do it, take the time to walk through and make sure that they know their horses are okay, because they're still paying for them.
Yeah.
And
now we're starting to run out of time. Now we wanted to make sure to get to some of the training exercises that Amy has to share with us. So
well,
tell us about your favorite training exercise.
There are so many. I mean, that's the thing is as much as I go to a lesson thinking, you know, I want to specifically work on this with this student today. In that moment, they'll pick up the trot and I'll see something and I'll be like, okay, wait, we're going to do this instead. So,
right.
Back up the bus.
But I do, you know, one of the things I like to do for core strength on the flat is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with, and again, I'm not making any of this up. This is all reinventing, you know, this is all information that's out there. And as a professional, please steal things. I listen at the schooling area to what people say and how people say that. When I'm at a horse show, I love going to clinics and listening to how another instructor will say something and steal it. We are blessed to have 3 great instructors at our farm. So we steal from each other all the time. Oh gosh, that sounded much better the way she said it than I said it. But on the flat to work the core, everybody's familiar with double posting, you know, so we were going up for 2 beats and sitting for 2 beats. So I've expanded that a little bit. And what I'll have the riders do is go up for 6 beats of the trot and sit for 6 beats, and then repeat that for, you know, like maybe 5 repetitions, and then go down to 5 up and 5 down, and then 5, you know, maybe do 6 repetitions, and then 4 up and 4 down, 3 up and 3 down, 2 up and 2 down. And thinking about keeping them lifting themselves up from their belly button, using, you know, engaging with their thigh, sinking into the heels. I found that this exercise really helps with the core strength and balance. It also initiates, especially for the more beginner rider, a sense of when the horse's feet are doing what. So at the very beginning levels, you know, being able to count the trot steps and knowing when one foot is on the ground versus the other is a valuable tool they're learning as a beginner. For the horses, it's been interesting because it teaches them, you know, to be a little more relaxed when the rider changes their position subtly. So as they're going across a jump, they'll not only the rider's getting more core strength, but the horse is not worried about that if it's a little bit of a greener horse. And as the riders are more advanced, you might try it with, you know, putting reins into one hand, bridging the reins in the outside hand, for example, and putting the inside hand on the hip or out to the side or up in the air or something, you know, just changing it up and getting the brain to think differently and making them a little uncomfortable. So they're having to work on their balance without even really realizing it. So that's been a fun exercise. And that's something, you know, working on the lunge line without stirrups and reins is a great way to work on balance and stability. But if you're teaching a group lesson, that's a great exercise to make, you know, kind of torture everybody with. And then at the really higher, the big kids have to do that without stirrups. And they love it when I bring that one out. So then after that, for getting ready for jumping, I like to set, you know, 2 poles out at varying lengths. Sometimes I'll measure them and make them a certain number of strides that I want. A lot of times I will, and we have a very, like an Olympic size ring. We have a very big ring. So I'll set the poles really far apart, like on an average working canter stride to be about 10 or 11 strides. So I don't even count at that point. I just set them way far apart, ask the riders to come through and on a working canter, count the number of strides, come back and take out a stride from that number. So working on lengthening and opening up the step, and then come back and add a stride to that number. And putting the collection at the end is harder and makes them work a little harder, but they have the whole way around the ring to kind of bring their stride to where it needs to be for that line again. And make sure that you stabilize those poles when you do that, if possible, by either using the poles that have the little octagonal cuts in them so they don't roll as much, or, you know, having standards near them, or, you know, I don't like those PVC poles that roll real easily if a horse steps on them or possibly break. And
right.
So you got to think about those things. And then for jumping, there's a myriad of exercises I love, but one, and let's see if you can see my little drawing I put up there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So this would be a trot pole to a jump, and it could be a cross rail or a vertical, and then straight on to an oxer or a bending left or bending right to a vertical. And setting the strides would be depending on who you're working with. So, you know, if I was working with more of a greener horse or a greener rider, I would make that more of a trot in 6 stride. And depending on the horse, I might adjust that number, you know, so I might make it 72 for a nice big horse, or I might make it a little easier for a smaller strided horse. So it's not a struggle to get the number, but it's consistent, and they work on going straight, and then they work on bending left, and then they work on bending right. And then for fun, we come around, and as they're trotting to the trot jump, you know, I will then call out what direction they're going. So they're not allowed to think about where they're going ahead of time. They have to think in the air. You know, they have to think on the approach. And that's good for them too, because sometimes they get so used to, I'm definitely doing this. Or you can start changing with the numbers in there and adding a stride in the line, using that oxer to widen it and work on the horse's form. You can then cloverleaf, trot in and canter out over the oxer, and cloverleaf back to one of the verticals and work on rollback. So that little setup, especially if you have a smaller space to work on your jumping, is a great little exercise. You can shorten it all up and make it combinations if you've got, you know, more advanced riders. So there's lots of things you can do. If you make it a shorter line and make it a combination, you can have practice a direct 2, let's say, to the verticals instead of a bending 3. So different fun things you can do with that. I think my business partner just asked a question. Oh, can you give the distance the trot? Hi, Janet. Hi, Janet. I set it at 9 feet typically for a trot pole before a jump. I think every horse's step is a little bit different. That's a nice, easy 2 trot steps from the pole to the jump. But if you're going to, it's important whenever you have things on the ground like gymnastics or poles that you have somebody on the ground that's knowledgeable and can adjust things slightly for you and your horse's stride.
Could you show us on your diagram where you want the 9 feet, please?
Oh, yes. So the trot pole would be trot into that jump and then canter out over the oxer or canter out over the verticals on a bending line.
I just heard a kitty cat meow.
Yes, I have a cat down here.
So that's just a basic exercise. There's a ton of them.
But you can get as detailed as you want when your riders go through that, or it can be a simple steering exercise.
Yes.
So,
and I like
it can be poles on the ground. The whole thing can be poles on the ground.
Yes.
So,
and I love poles on the ground.
It works great for, especially if you're in a smaller space. It works great for your whole lesson day.
Yes.
From the very beginner on the way up.
I like to have exercises set that we can, and we do. I mean, we set, right now I have one set in the ring that looks like this, and everybody does it. And it can be poles on the ground, and it's, you know, a little serpentine line. So it works on control of the shoulder, works on balance of the rider. And it can also be, you know, you can set it as just a little crossbar or a small vertical. And that's not a new exercise I created. That's definitely one I stole. But it's a great exercise to work on all levels. So you can trot just one and circle back around to another one, or you can trot the whole serpentine. You can work on it at the canter, poles on the ground. I mean, lots of different things. So there's 100 million exercises. Be creative. Think about the safety of the horse.
Safety of the rider.
Safety of the rider.
Safety of the rider.
That's very important.
Number one.
You want to push them enough to where they feel successful, but you want to, you know, it's like, I think we were talking yesterday, or maybe it was last night, you know, putting your kids in the right class at the horse shows, you know, I mean, all of these decisions are important, and that starts in the ring when you're schooling and training.
And it's what makes you good at what you do, is to be able to make those decisions and say, okay, we may jump 3 foot at home, but when we go to the horse show, we're going to jump 2'6".
Yeah.
And you have to be able to explain that to your rider, why you're doing that. And instead of jumping 3 foot at home and going to the horse show and putting them in the junior hunters, people do that too, and it doesn't work so well.
Yeah.
But I think that it's all about keeping them busy, keeping them smart, sliding. Sometimes you trick them into learning things.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know that they're really supposed to be learning all that. And I love it too. I love when you have a rider that thinks they're getting really good. And then you put 4 poles out like on a lunge lane circle and say, okay, canter these.
Yes.
3 strides between each one.
That's
4 strides between each one. It's the hardest lesson in the world, and people have the hardest time doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a kid tell me one time, she said, well, you couldn't do it. And I hadn't ridden it, I bet in 2 years. And I said, I bet I can do it. And I thought, oh, big mistake. But I did. I got on and I said, you know what? It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
So, but these exercises are great, and you can make them as tough on the ground.
Yes.
Even harder on the ground, I think, sometimes than jumping a course, and it keeps everybody motivated and busy and makes them learn.
And it keeps the horse going longer because they're not always jumping in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I love poles on the ground or little cavaletti. And I mean, it's not as taxing on the horse, and yet you get to work on every little thing that's going to happen to you in a course. Everybody's so anxious to jump a course all the time, and they can't jump around a small course of cavaletti.
Well, exactly. But Amy, we appreciate all you're doing for the industry, and we're glad to have you come and join us here. It's been wonderful, and hopefully people are watching and will listen, and it's been a good thing. I wish that we'd had more of that emerging athlete kind of thing when I was doing this more, because I think it's a great opportunity.
Oh, I all the time wish it had been there when I was a junior, because that would have been right up my alley.
It's true.
It was great.
Well,
ladies,
we're getting like, no,
Sorry,
there's
look, the black cat. We had the yellow cat last night.
Yes, I know. Well, we never know who comes up to visit us. But I'd also like to thank Amy, because Amy, you're such a treasure. You make such a difference for so many people. Thank you for becoming a part of Jumping Instructors Live. And for those of you who are watching, we're doing Jumping Instructors Live 3 times a week right now during the pandemic, because we want to find ways to inspire you so that you can succeed to the next level of success in everything that you're doing in the horse business. We started something fun last night. We're Zooming with jumping instructors now, which is like, this is more of an educational type of a venue, but with the Zooming, we never know what's going to happen. So you can join us with either of those programs. You can contact Amy. We've shared her website. We've shared her Facebook page. You can see them on the Facebook comments. Remember to like the comments, share them, and add your comments, because together we make a difference for each other.
It's true. Thanks again, Amy. Good to see
Thank
you,
you very
Laura.
much, Amy. It's nice
Randy.
to meet you.
All right.
And remember to come on Monday. We're doing another show on Monday. So,
Yep. All right. And we don't know when we're going to Zoom next, but we'll be Zooming too.
But we will Zoom again. That was fun.
That was fun. So we'll
fun. And you don't have to be an instructor. Didn't we decide that they don't have to be an instructor to be in there? It can just be a horse person. And
open to
we had a neat gal from Texas last night who has an Arab. She was fun.
Right.
And
in Australia,
yeah.
we got someone from Australia
Right.
too, right?
Yeah. When the lady came in at the end from Australia, that was neat.
It was.
And
anyway,
so,
we've got to go now. Thank you
right.
so much, Amy. We really appreciate it.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
on
Bye,
the other side of
everybody.
the fence. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Now go use this stuff. See ya. Yes, I really want to end it.